Hello, good morning, and welcome to another of our expert interviews. Today, we will be speaking with Johannes Koch. He is the Associate Director of the Business Line Engineering and Services. Johannes, welcome. Good to have you here.
Thanks for having me. Thanks for the invitation.
So, we start with something interesting you've got for us. Can we have a look at it?
Sure. So I brought along my wheel of decision, and it works like that. Once you have to make a decision and you don't really know the ins and outs of that decision, you just go here to the wheel, spin it, and just wait for the answer it gives, and it will always fit. So apart from the obvious answers like yes, no, or try again, there are the more sophisticated ones like pray or maybe, or my favorite, ask mom, because she always knows. So maybe you want to have a look.
Maybe we can use it to decide what question to ask you next.
I hope so. The thing is, I got this from my parents after my thesis, and it reminds me of it's always hard to take decisions in uncertain environments, not knowing really is this the proper decision that you're just making, and it is always in life that you have to be just flexible enough to take a step forward, because every step forward is better than standing still and doing nothing.
Exactly. Yeah. So actually, we can start off by talking about your background and the decisions you had to take that led you here to ZETA. So why don't you give us an introduction and how you ended up here?
Sure. So actually, it all started out with having an interest in all the chemistry stuff, explosion, fires, smells, awful smells, of course, that were sort of interesting me in school. And this changed a bit to, I wanted to know how nature works, how the mechanistics behind chemistry, what is it that makes the world run? And this again altered after I decided to start chemistry studies. I wanted to know the chemistry of biology. What is it in your body, in every living organism that makes this organism work? It's a super complex, multi-complex environment, and I did some very basic research at the university, peroxisome research, actually in a bit of an intersecting field between biochemistry, molecular biology, and cell biology. Right after university, I switched over to a private biotech company. It was a startup company, and they are engaged in finding a wound healing agent. And I was responsible for, startup companies are small companies, you have more than just one role. And I was responsible for standing in the laboratory and figuring out how this molecule that we had in hand works, the mode of action of this molecule. And at the same time, I was responsible for setting up the production process of this molecule. So fine-tuning it, tweaking it a little bit, and finding out how we could even enhance this production process, not just on a laboratory level, but also in the scale-up to a pilot plant, more technological production process.
So you have a very unique and interesting background for ZETA, because you worked in the laboratory, you have experience on the research side, but also on scaling up. And in my opinion, the skills needed for research are very different from the skills needed to scale up and actually manufacture a drug.
That's absolutely true, yeah.
So can you share your experiences in the scaling up and what kind of challenges you've seen?
So the main challenge that I see is basically that the focus of a laboratory is just making the thing happen, and you're super lucky once the product comes out at the end of the production chain. But that's way not all to it. And a super tight laboratory production process is worth literally nothing without having the future production scale in mind, because you work totally different. Actually, we, and also many of the big pharma companies, they do know very little about the mechanistics of their production process. We all know the keywords quality by design, the PAT approach. This all aims at finding out on a very mechanistic molecular level, why does, for instance, temperature in step A impact the production and the quality of the product in the end of the chain. And so it's you have to have, once you're in the laboratory and finding out how you could enhance the production process, you have to have in mind the technology that is used to run this production in the end of the day. You have to find out a lot about this, about the mechanistics of your production process. And when I was in the startup company, I can say we had quite a steep learning curve because we knew nothing in the end of the day. And we lacked basically competent partners that could help us figuring out what should be the stages of your production process that you have to focus at to make it scalable, to make it feasible and operatable at a larger scale.
So there's one important phrase you said there, which is competent partner. And I want to pick on that because this is how I see us as ZETA, as a competent partner. And you specifically, when you speak with customers, you can bring your learning and experience and you can talk to them in the same language in terms of research and scaling up. So as ZETA, now that you're on the other side, how do you experience this? How do you handle this? And what are your experiences and impressions from this side?
Right, so ZETA is now on the market for decades. What ZETA did is we did a vertical front end integration. So we started out as pipe fitters, just running installation works. We integrated then the engineering aspect of that installation. But in the end of the day, what we do today is delivering a full-scale service portfolio for our customers. We want to start at ZETA exactly where I was standing when I was in the laboratory. We want to start right at the heart of the production process where it all started. And we want to be hand in hand there with our customers and advising them on how to set up your production process such that it's feasible to operate it in a larger scale. And that is basically what we offer. A full service, one-stop shop from the very beginning, not just conceptual designs, because many companies offers conceptual designs. Where we are starting is at front-end integration, scale-up services, process optimization services, down to commissioning, qualification of the plant. And this full portfolio is run by engineers that have this commissioning experience at the larger scale. All our engineers have to have that commissioning experience, and they use this experience to tweak the process in the very beginning and to tell the guys in the laboratory what they should do to make this process work. So by using this, our customers can actually focus on what they can do best, that is research and development and or production of molecules and APIs, and we can do what we can do best, that is developing plants and technology.
So we are able to support at the micro level, let's say a specific process step, specific scaling up operation, and at the macro level, which is the entire plant, the layout, design, engineering. What do you see the benefits from the customer's point of view?
So first of all, it's interfaces. We manage a lot of interfaces from the very beginning on in the project, and we have many disciplines working on one project to deliver. And I want to actually add another perspective in here. We see it's not just the production process or the technology of the plant that needs to be set up, engineered, and delivered, but it's more. It's a building, it's a production room, it's the clean room, it's the ventilation system of the clean room. So we are expanding at ZETA here our services, not just focusing on purely the production process, but the production process is the heart, the beating heart of your production facility, and we can design the entire facility. The technology of the process, the equipment of the process, but also the building, the HVAC, the electrical design, the civil works, all is done out of one hand, and this is all managed by ZETA. As you can imagine, these projects are very complex projects, and our motto is we manage the complexity for our clients. That means in the end of the day, reduced interfaces. They do not have to put a lot of stuff into these projects in comparison to the typical classical approach of these projects. And in the end of the day, this translates to much less time spent, much earlier market entry, and of course, time is money.
Of course. So what I hear you say is that the process operates in the context of the building, the HVAC, the utilities. And we come from the point of view of both the process and the context. So we can understand both, we see how the interaction happens, and therefore we can optimize both for the customer. Do you have an example perhaps which can show, for example, a project which you worked on where we can highlight how the interaction operated?
Sure. So it was not basically our idea to just jump out of the bush and say, hey, we are general planners. We always respond to the market needs and the customer needs. And actually, it was a customer in Vienna that approached us and said, guys, you delivered an excellent project here with us in Vienna, in Austria. And at this time, we were only responsible for the process and the process equipment, down to commissioning and qualification, but not for HVAC, civil works, and the other planning disciplines. And he said, hey, there were so many interfaces not well managed, where we lost literally months of time and endless nerves. Please take this over. And this was our starting point. We just said, yes, we accepted the challenge, and we were flexible enough. Our structures were well established. We had competent partners at hand, which are still with us. And we can now deliver a full set of engineering services for any kind of project, with the focus, again, on the process equipment. So the starting point is always the process, then comes the production room, the layout, and then comes the whole building, HVAC, electrical services, and so on.
So you've got a lot of experience now in the pharma industry and also in different kinds of projects at different stages of the life cycle. So in terms of the future, what is your opinion or impression? What is your vision for the pharmaceutical industry and how projects would be managed going forward?
So with the COVID-19 pandemic, we've seen a lot of things happening in the market. Some things were already there, but were sort of accelerated. I see that one important stream will be that the more personal medicine will be on the market, but this will not sort of replace the traditional medicine that is now on the market. It's just an add-on to help patients even better. Still, there will be the need for large production facilities. What I see is that it's utterly important that every region in the world, every global region, has its own technological lead and also the production capabilities to deliver the medicine when it's needed, not be so reliable on your global partners. This is an important aspect, but even more so establishing production facilities to meet the capabilities that are required on the market. The good thing is there will always be new technologies, but this does not change what ZETA stands for or what we are in the market, because we manage the complexity, as I mentioned before, of this project. And scale, size doesn't really matter at this point. And so we can, in any environment, do what we can do best, helping our customers, managing the complexity, be a partner from very early on in the production chain. And in the end of the day, this is the common goal of all of us, saving lives sooner.
So with complexity, there will always be decisions to be made, and therefore there will always be a need for your tool here. Thank you, Johannes, for your time. We've reached the end of our discussion. Would you be open to answering some personal questions as well?
Sure.
Thanks again.
Thank you.
Johannes, what's the best professional advice you've ever been given?
There is always a human being behind the office role or position that you are dealing with. Have that always in mind.
What's your favorite computer game?
F-16 Flying Falcon.
For breakfast, ham and eggs or cereals?
Clear ham and eggs.
What is the most important quality of an applicant and why?
Being open-minded, resourceful, ready to accept challenges and ready to deliver. Being flexible.
The magic fairy grants you a wish. What is it?
A trip on a starship with warp speed.
Your song choice in karaoke?
Country Road.
What did you want it to be when you grew up?
A pilot.
Sports car or classic car?
Sports car.
Who's the person you admire the most and why?
My grandmother. She survived so many tragedies and always stayed strong, and this inspired me.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time. I hope you enjoyed the conversation. And if you would like to see the next expert interview, please click on our website below. Thank you.